Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lugness Monster. Today, we're going to be doing Worst to First All-Stars of Black Series 2022 figures. If you are new to the channel, Worst to First is a series that we do where we rank, of course, figures worst to first. And today is 2022 figures, which there were a lot of figures released in 2022. If my calculations are correct, there's about 106 figures released in 2022. Now, I could be wrong. This list is definitely not perfect, so let me know in the comments if I did miss anything. But since this is such a large list, we are going to be splitting up into 53 in part 1 and then 53 in part 2. So this will be a two-part video episode thing, so make sure to come back tomorrow for part 2. But yeah, today we're going to be looking at the worst 53 figures, I guess, that came out in 2023. Real quick though, before we do get into the video, if you are new to the channel, make sure to go down, hit the like button, and subscribe, because we are giving away this clone Captain Rex at 8,500 subs, and we are like 60 subs away, which is incredible. We are so close to that milestone. So thank you guys so much for all the recent support. I do really appreciate it. And yeah, you do have to be subbed to the channel to enter those. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and on to the video. Anyway, coming in at the number 108 to 100 spot, I did group these all together because they are very similar, but I gave it all to the 8 credit collection figures that did come out in 2022. All these figures are horrible in my opinion. I absolutely hate them. I really liked the first wave of credit collection. I thought they were good because it was for season 1 of The Mandalorian, and so a lot of their concept art didn't actually make the show, and so it was cool to see those kind of things show up in like figure form. But with season 2, all of the concept art was based off of season 1, and so because of that, these are all real characters already. They're just colored weird, and so because of that, all these credit collection figures just have really weird colors. Like the Dark Trooper just looks like somebody spray painted Easter spray paint all over him. Looks really dumb. Same with Bo-Katan, just like randomly like yellow armpits. Same with Ahsoka. Like they're just weird colors on these already existing characters, and I feel like it worked for season 1 because they were like specific concept art, but with season 2 it just didn't work out very well, and because of that, credit collection gets the last spots of the year, at least personally for me. Number 99 through 97 I did give to the Carbonized line. Number 99 is the Carbonized Scout Trooper. This one's not bad. It almost is just not carbonized enough though. It also just, with the new Carbonized line, they gave it all the same color box. That's one thing that I absolutely loved about the original Carbonized line, is all the figures matched their boxes and it looked really cool. But with the new ones, they gave them all the same box and the figures didn't match and it just didn't work. And so that's the same thing with the Shore Trooper. This one is like a almost goldish color, but the gold just looks a little off. It's almost like a greenish mustardy gold, and it just is a little unsettling to me. I don't know, like it's almost just the wrong shade of gold. And of course the box doesn't match. And then the best one of the Carbonized for this year by far is Paz Vizsla. This one's actually really good. This one looks great. I do personally own it, and it is my main Paz Vizsla in the collection. The biggest problem, it was just really expensive. It's a $40 figure, as the original was $30, so it's a $10 increase just for the Carbonized, and it just doesn't work. For the 96 through 89, the next 8 spots, I did give it to the holiday figures released in 2022. Now, don't get me wrong, these are really cool figures, and they serve their purpose. They're holiday-themed figures, and I think they're pretty cool, but they're just not my thing. They're not personally my favorite, and that's why they're a little bit lower on the list. So if you do like them, that's perfectly fine. You're free to like them. Don't let this affect your list at all, but just me personally, it's not my favorite. I also did bunch in the Halloween figures with these too. Like I said, cool gimmick, just not really my thing. Number 88 I gave to Blacker and Satin, part of the comic book line. This figure is personally horrible. I do not like this one at all. It's just a repainted Chewbacca with a different head, and then of course the weird shoulder pad thing. But the biggest problem is this is supposed to be a bulky character. I know people argue like, well, it's a comic book figure, it's not like the TV show. Yeah, in the comics it literally shows it on the box. He's a bulky character. So this one, it just doesn't work. It's way too skinny. He looks like he's malnourished compared to what Blacker Satin should look like, and it just doesn't work. It's cheap, lazy Hasbro's repaints like that really like hit the bottom of the line when it comes to Black Series figures like that. Don't get me wrong, cool idea, right mindset, just poorly executed. Number 87, I gave it to Archive Lando. Now, don't get me wrong, Skiff-Guard Lando is a great figure, one of the best Landos in the line. Problem is that it's an archive release. Hasbro knew that they were going to release this for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, and they know that the original figure is still very cheap on the aftermarket, and yet they still decided to archive the figure. It just takes up an archive spot. You can get the original for cheaper than you can the archive, and plus it's getting a whole brand new on-card release next year, so there's no point for this archive release at all. Poor choice, and it just takes up another archive spot, so definitely one of the worst of the year. Number 86 does come in as the Archive Emperor for around the same reason, just because this one is getting a on-card release for 2023's 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, so there's no point to get this in the archive line. I think the Emperor definitely needed a re-release, especially with the throne being that expensive, but like I said, there's just no need for another Emperor. Like, we don't need two different versions of the Emperor on shelves at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. 85 comes in as Archive Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith. This one desperately needed a re-release. It was a very old figure, but that's the problem. It's such an old figure that it just doesn't live up to today's standards. The head is so like peanut sized, it's incredibly small, and just not the best, that just updating it with photoreal isn't enough. This guy desperately needs a brand new head-to-toe resculpt, remake, and just re-releasing in the archive line is a nice way to get the figure, but it just doesn't give it the justice it deserves. It needs a brand new figure. Now, running along that same archive boat we're going on right now is Archive C-3PO at number 84. This one, it's a good figure. I like C-3PO, but it's again one of those things with the archive line where he's cheap enough on the aftermarket and he doesn't need a photoreal update that it kind of just wastes an archive spot. If you really need another C-3PO, go to eBay and buy another C-3PO. You'd get it for cheaper than the archive version, and then the archives could actually use like another figure that could get that updated photoreal face that it really needs. So yeah, C-3PO is cool, but doesn't deserve an archive spot. Coming in at number 82, I did give to the Gaming Greats Imperial Senate Guard. Now this one is a cool idea for a figure. I'm a huge Force Unleashed fan, and this is a really cool figure from Force Unleashed. Problem is the figure is just completely inaccurate. It should have more of like a Stormtrooper based body rather than a Senate Guard body, and so the fact that they just repainted the Imperial Senate or Imperial Royal Guard blue, it just kind of, it's not right. It should be more of a Stormtrooper body, and because of the inaccuracy, it's lower on the list. Number 81 is Jon Favreau, the convention exclusive figure. This one, cool idea for a figure. I like the George Lucas one, but this one, it's just, again, it's Paz Vizsla with Jon Favreau's head, and it was like a $42 figure. Crazy price increase when the original was a $31 figure, so a $10 price increase just for Jon Favreau's head. It's not worth it. Number 80 does go to Black Series Fordo, and I already made a video on this on the channel, why I don't like this figure. It's just super inaccurate, not what the actual Tartakovsky Fordo looks like, so it's pretty low on the list. I don't want to get into it super much, so if you do want to see that video, go check it out, but yeah, it's pretty low on my list. But that's just me, it might be different for everybody. Number 79 does come in as the Tartakovsky Grievous. Now, this one is actually a really good figure. It's just not one of my personal favorites. I didn't pick it up. It's just a white version of Grievous, and I do have the original Grievous, and so I didn't really need a second one. So, don't get me wrong, this is a great figure, but for my personal list, it is a little bit lower. It's just not kind of my thing. For the next two spots, we do have two of the comic book figures. We do have the white Vader as well as the comic book Leia. Both these figures are cool looking figures, I will give them that. I just don't have any personal connection to the comics themselves. I never read them, and so they're just not that high on my list. I think they look amazing. I just don't have any connection to the characters, so because of that, they're a little bit lower on the list. Number 76 I gave to Archive Leia. Now this one, cool figure. The photoreal is definitely necessary, but it still doesn't do it justice. I think this one needs a brand new figure head to toe. Preferably the hard goods plastic rather than the soft goods. I like soft goods most of the time, but for a figure like this, I think it would definitely benefit from some hard plastic. And then, yeah, definitely an updated face because it's one of the poorest Leia faces in the line. Number 75, I did give to Galen Erso. A cool figure, but he was just one of those background characters in a Rogue One. He's more forgettable than anything, and his face is super weird. I don't know what they did to his face, but it is horrible. Even the personal copy that I got was really bad. It looks like he ate a lemon. It's horrible. I don't know what they did with his face. For number 74, I did give it to Black Series Omega. Now this is a good figure, nice to have it in the line finally, but they just chose the one face where she has the headdress that she only wears for the first episode, and so like this figure is only really used for the first episode, and the rest of the season it just doesn't make sense because she doesn't wear that headdress, so just poor choice of head sculpt, I guess. Number 73 is actually Grief Karga from Season 2. Cool looking figure, I just don't think it's as good as the Season 1 version. His outfit that he's wearing makes him almost like a human traffic cone, and it just doesn't work. Cool looking outfit, it's just not as good as the Season 1 figure. Number 72 goes to the Client. Now this one, good looking figure. Biggest problem is, again, he has that traffic cone overcoat to where he can't sit down. And the biggest thing that this character did in the show was sit down. He sits down in every single scene he's in. He's a sitting character. But the figure they made for him can't sit down. It's just really weird choice for the traffic cone overcoat. And it just doesn't work. Number 71 I gave to the New Republic Security Droid. This is a figure that I just didn't ask for. I didn't care much about the character, and I really did not want it in figure form. It's a cool figure. If you like it, that's perfect. It's just not one of my favorites. I didn't really need it, and I think there's other figures that could have made a better spot for that mainline wave, and so because of that, this one is pretty low. Great figure, just not my favorite. Number 70, I gave it to Tython Boba, or Tusken Raider Boba, whatever you want to call him. He's lower on the list just because I really liked his character in The Mandalorian. He was great. And then they kind of just ruined it in the Book of Boba Fett. And because of that, a lot of those newer Book of Boba Fett style characters, I'm just not a big fan of. Like, this one looks awesome, and he was awesome in The Mandalorian, but Boba Fett, he just didn't hit. So, a little bit lower on the list. Number 69 goes to Season 2 Migs Mayfeld. This one is a cool figure. I do like the Stormtrooper disguise, but as a Migs figure, it's just not as good as the Season 1 version, which is later on the list. Season 1 version is great, and the fact that they just gave us the Stormtrooper disguise version is kind of cheap in my opinion, because I feel like I would have never bought the Season 2 version if I knew there was a Season 1 version coming, and yeah, it's just not as good as the Season 1 version. 68 will be Anton Merrick. This one is a great figure. Biggest thing for me was the distribution. This guy was on pre-order forever, over a year, and he just never actually released. And then when he did hit stores, he never hit any stores near me, so obviously this is different for everybody, but for my personal list, I never saw this guy, so I never had a chance to buy him. Because of that, he's a little bit lower. I wanted him, and it was hard to get him. Number 67 goes to Ceremony Leia. Cool idea for a figure. I do like the outfit, but it's just so scene specific. It's hard to do much with the character. And then 66 is the Power of the Force release. Exact same thing, but it does have the nice Power of the Force card back, which I do really like. It is a nice touch. 65 goes to Endor Village Leia. Cool looking figure, but again, it's just so scene specific. It's hard to do much with the character. Number 64 goes to the Gaming Greats Battle Droid, the brand new one from Jedi Survivor. This one's only so low just because the game's not out yet, so I don't know what this whole character spiel is. Obviously, they are villains, or I guess bad guys to Cal, but we don't really know much about them, why they're there, and so because of that, they're a little bit lower on the list. Number 63 is Tika, and it's just another Jawa re-release. He was in the show for like three seconds. Like, I don't know, we didn't really need him. 62 and 61 go to the Knight Brothers, the Archer, and then the normal Knight Brother. They're just not my favorites. They're not my favorite villains from Fallen Order, and plus the reuse of the maul legs really hurt the figure. Coming in at the number 60 spot is the convention-exclusive Kenner Akbar. I like the Kenner figures. Kenner Boba Fett is awesome because Kenner Boba Fett is a different color than normal Boba Fett, but the problem with Kenner Akbar is the exact same color as normal Akbar, which means the Kenner-style figure this is just a normal Admiral Akbar with very little paint, and it just doesn't work as well as Kenner Boba Fett. 59 I gave to Ned B. Cool figure. Again, it's just one of those where he wasn't my favorite in the show, and I didn't necessarily need a figure of him, so he's a little bit lower, and plus the deluxe price does kind of hurt the figure. 58 is kind of controversial, and that is Kenobi Vader. Great Vader, and it's a great way for anybody who didn't get Empire Strikes Back Vader or New Hope Vader to get another Vader. Biggest problem, it's just a re-release of A New Hope Vader with the shoulder things under the armor. It's exactly the same. Because of that, it's lower on the list. Great figure, great Vader, but it's just a re-release. And now number 57 to put right after Vader is also super controversial, but I give it to the mainline Grogu.
What?
No, all right. I know that sounds bad.
And you gotta hear me out on this one. This is the best Grogu in the line, by far. The sitting position is nice, all the accessories are nice, the pram is the best, the medallion is super cool to have, the Mandalorian necklace there. Like, it's great figure. Is it incredibly overpriced? Absolutely. Is it a bad figure? By no means. It's a great figure. It's just overpriced, and it's definitely, like I said, the best Baby Yoda we've ever gotten in the line. Now, number 56, I give to the Bad Batch Cad Bane. And now, again, hear me out on this one. We've just gotten so many Cad Banes in the line. We got the original Clone Wars one, now this one, and then we do have the Book of Boba Fett one coming out next year. There's just so many Cad Banes, and one of them's got to get left behind, and this one is personally my least favorite. Obviously, we haven't seen the new one coming out next year yet, but I don't know. This one is just not my favorite outfit. The classic, like, brown overcoat is the best, and it's, like I said, this one's just not as good as that mainline Clone Wars one. The last figure for part 1 of this video is Andor Shore Trooper. Cool looking Stormtrooper, I do have to say. I'm a big Shore Trooper fan, but this is basically just a Shore Trooper repaint. Like I said, it's nothing super new, and because of that, it doesn't get a high place on the list. I love the figure, but it's just re-release. It's nothing new. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching part 1. If you enjoyed, the like button and subscribe. Make sure to come back for part 2. If you are watching this right away, it'll come up tomorrow. But if you are watching this later, it'll be pinned in the card right now or linked in the description. So go check it out. But yeah, those were, according to, I guess, me personally, my least 54 favorite figures of the year. But yeah, crazy amount of figures released this year, and it was just pretty cool that I'm able to do this video all together. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.